I'm 79 years old, and I thought I'd seen every kind of cruelty this world had to offer. I was wrong, standing in the ballroom of the Fairmont Hotel in downtown Portland, watching my daughter Sarah's 10th wedding anniversary celebration. I felt my heart shatter into pieces I didn't know could break at my age. The crystal chandelier above cast shadows across 200 guests, friends, family, colleagues, all there to celebrate what everyone believed was a fairy tale marriage. Then, my son-in-law Marcus raised his champagne glass, flashed that politician's smile he'd perfected over the years, and delivered the words that would destroy him to my beautiful wife Sarah, who married up when she found me, unlike some people in this family who still clip coupons and shop at Walmart. We believe in living with dignity and class. The laughter that followed felt like glass in my ears. Even my own daughter, my precious Sarah, giggled behind her manicured hand. Before I continue, if you enjoy stories about family betrayal and justice, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell. And if you've ever faced something like this, share in the comments. We'll feature your story too. My name is Edith Carmichael, and for the past 10 years, I've watched my daughter transform from the sweet, compassionate girl who used to braid friendship bracelets for her classmates into someone I barely recognize. It started gradually after she married Marcus Holloway in 2014. He was a junior partner at a prestigious law firm then, driving a leased BMW and living in a downtown apartment his parents helped finance. Sarah was working as a pediatric nurse, making decent money but nothing extraordinary. I remember the first red flag clearly. We were having Sunday dinner at my modest ranch house in southeast Portland, the same house where I'd raised Sarah after my husband died when she was 12. Marcus kept checking his phone, making comments about the dated decor and asking when I was planning to upgrade to somewhere more suitable for entertaining. Mom's house is perfect. Sarah had defended me then. She raised me here after Dad died, worked 2 jobs to keep us afloat. This house is full of love. Marcus had smiled that same condescending smile I'd learned to hate and said, "Of course, sweetheart, I just think you deserve better now. Deserve better," as if the house where we'd celebrated birthdays, mourned losses, and built a million precious memories somehow wasn't good enough for his new wife. Over the years, the comments escalated. My outdated clothing choices, my embarrassing habit of using coupons at the grocery store, the way I drove my reliable but older Honda Civic instead of leasing something flashier. Marcus had a gift for making his cruelty sound like concern, his insults like helpful suggestions. Edith really should consider updating her wardrobe if she's going to be attending firm events with us, he'd tell Sarah, loud enough for me to hear. First impressions matter in my circles. Sarah started making excuses for why I couldn't attend certain functions. She'd apologize later, privately, but the exclusions continued. Family gatherings became fewer. Our weekly coffee dates turned monthly, then sporadic. The worst part, watching my daughter absorb his values like a sponge soaking up poison. She started shopping at boutiques instead of department stores, traded her practical sedan for a luxury SUV, began making the same kind of comments Marcus did about people who don't take pride in their appearance. She never directed them at me, not directly, but I felt the judgment in her silences, saw the embarrassment in her eyes when Marcus would make his little jokes at my expense. 3 months before that anniversary party, Marcus made his biggest mistake yet. He asked me for money, not a loan, never something as humble as a loan, no. Marcus Holloway was far too sophisticated for that. He presented me with what he called a business opportunity. We were sitting in Sarah's pristine living room, all white furniture and glass surfaces that screamed, "Look, but don't touch." Sarah was at work, pulling a double shift at the hospital. She'd been working more hours lately, though I didn't understand why. Marcus's law practice seemed to be thriving. Edith, he began, settling back in his leather chair like he owned the world, I've been thinking about your financial situation, my financial situation. I nearly laughed, if only he knew, as you know. I've been very successful in corporate law, our firm is expanding, and there's an opportunity for silent partnerships. Minimum investment is $50,000, but the returns are guaranteed to be substantial. He slid a folder across the coffee table toward me, professional letterhead, impressive charts. All the bells and whistles designed to dazzle someone he assumed was a simple widow living on. Social Security. I know this might seem like a lot, he continued with fake sympathy, but I've spoken with Sarah, and we both worry about your future security. This investment could set you up for your remaining years, my remaining years. As if I were circling the drain, I opened the folder, pretending to study the documents. In reality, I was calculating exactly how much rope to give him before he hanged himself with it. This looks complex, I said, playing the role he expected. I'm not sure I understand all these financial terms. His smile widened. Of course not. These are sophisticated instruments. But you can trust me to handle the details, after all. I am family. Family. The word tasted bitter coming from his mouth. I'll need to think about this. I told him $50,000 is a lot of money for someone like me. Take your time. He said graciously, but don't wait too long. Opportunities like this don't last forever. After he left, I sat in Sarah's sterile living room and made 2 phone calls. The first was to my attorney, James Morrison, a man I'd known for 30 years who understood exactly what kind of chess game I was playing. The second was to my financial advisor at Wells Fargo, where I'd been banking since 1987. That evening, I did something I rarely do. I opened a bottle of wine, a nice Pinot Noir from the Willamette Valley, and allowed myself to smile for the first time in months. Marcus thought he was playing checkers with a helpless old woman. He had no idea I'd been playing chess my entire life. 2 weeks later, I called Marcus and asked if we could meet. I chose a small cafe in southeast Portland called Clive's Coffee, the kind of unpretentious place that would make him feel superior, perfect for what I had planned. He arrived 15 minutes late. Checking his Rolex ostentatiously as he scanned the room, I waved from a corner table, looking every bit the nervous widow he expected to see. Edith, he said, air-kissing my cheek like we were old friends. You sounded stressed on the phone. I hope you're not having second thoughts about the investment opportunity. I fumbled with my purse, an older Coach bag I'd deliberately chosen for its worn leather and dated style. From it, I pulled a cashier's check, my hands trembling slightly, not from nerves, but from the effort of containing my rage. I spoke with my financial advisor. I said, keeping my voice soft and uncertain. He said I could liquidate some of my retirement funds for this. It's everything I have, Marcus, my nest egg. His eyes locked onto the check like a hawk spotting. $50,000 made out to Holloway Investment Partners, LLC, a company that existed only in Marcus's imagination and the fictional documents he'd shown me. Edith, he said, his voice dripping with false compassion, I'm so touched that you trust me with this. Sarah is lucky to have a mother who cares so much about her family's future. He reached for the check, but I pulled it back slightly. I need to be sure. I whispered, this is everything I have. If something went wrong, nothing will go wrong, he assured me, his confidence absolute. You're investing with me, remember. I've never had a deal go south. Ask anyone at the firm. I let him take the check, watched him examine it, nod approvingly, and slip it into his wallet. I'll deposit this first thing Monday morning. He promised you should start seeing returns within 90 days, probably sooner. We parted ways with hugs and expressions of mutual affection as I watched him drive away in his BMW. I pulled out my phone and sent a single text message to James Morrison. The fish took the bait. The next 8 weeks were theatre of the highest order. I played my part flawlessly, though worried investor checking in about her returns. The concerned mother-in-law, who noticed her daughter seemed stressed because Sarah was stressed. I could see it every time we managed to get together, dark circles under her eyes, a tremor in her hands when she thought no one was looking. She'd lost weight, and not in a good way. "Are you feeling all right, honey?" I asked during one of our rare coffee meetings at her favorite upscale cafe in the Pearl District. "Just tired," she said, stirring her latte absently. "Work's been crazy, and Marcus has been preoccupied with some big cases." Big cases, right, more like figuring out how to cover the tracks of the money he'd stolen from me and probably others. "How are things with Marcus?" I pressed gently. "You two seem tense lately." Sarah's laugh was hollow. "He's been under a lot of pressure. The firm is expanding, which is great. But there are all these new expenses, partnership fees, client entertainment, office upgrades. Sometimes I feel like we're spending money faster than we can make it." My heart ached for her. My brilliant, hard-working daughter who'd been pulled into her husband's web of lies and financial irresponsibility. She had no idea that her mother's life savings were currently funding whatever lifestyle Marcus was desperately trying to maintain. "Maybe I could help," I offered carefully. "I don't have much." "But oh God, no, Mom," Sarah said quickly. "We're fine, really. Marcus handles all the finances, and he's brilliant with money. We just need to get through this transition period." Brilliant with money. If only she knew how brilliant. That same week, I received a call from Marcus. His voice was tight with barely controlled panic, though he tried to hide it behind his usual condescending tone. "Edith, I'm calling about your investment. There's been a slight delay with the returns." "Nothing to worry about, just some paperwork issues with the SEC. These government agencies, you know how they are." "Oh my," I said, injecting worry into my voice. "Is my money safe?" "Absolutely, 100% secure. I just wanted to give you a heads up that the first payment might be delayed by a month or 2, maybe 3 at the outside." 3 months, he was buying time. Probably hoping to rob Peter to pay Paul. Classic Ponzi scheme behavior. "I trust you completely." "Marcus," I told him, "your family." The irony of those words hung in the air long after I hung up, which brings us back to that anniversary party and the toast that sealed Marcus's fate. After he finished his speech about dignity and class, after the laughter died down and the conversations resumed, I noticed something interesting. Several of Marcus's colleagues from the law firm were whispering among themselves, shooting glances in his direction. Their expressions weren't admiring, they were concerned, suspicious. I made my way over to a group that included Patricia Hendricks, the firm's managing partner, whom I'd met at Sarah and Marcus's wedding years earlier. "Edith," Patricia said warmly, "how lovely to see you. What a beautiful party." "It really is," I agreed. "Sarah and Marcus have built such a wonderful life together. I'm so proud of how successful he's become." Something flickered in Patricia's eyes. "Yes. Well, Marcus is certainly living well." There was a weight to her words that told me everything I needed to know. The walls were closing in at his firm too. Whatever financial house of cards he'd built was starting to collapse. That's when I made my decision. It was time to end this charade. I asked the bandleader if I could borrow the microphone. Sarah looked mortified, her frumpy mother wanting to give a speech at her elegant party. Marcus tried to wave me off, but I was already walking toward the stage. "Ladies and gentlemen," I began, my voice carrying clearly through the ballroom. "I hope you'll indulge an old woman for just a moment. I wanted to share something about tonight's celebration." The room fell silent. Sarah was making frantic gestures for me to step down. Marcus had gone pale. Marcus gave a beautiful toast about Dignity and class, I continued, smiling directly at him. It got me thinking about what those words really mean, about the difference between appearing successful and actually earning success. I paused, letting the silence stretch. In the back of the room, I noticed James Morrison had arrived, flanked by two other men I didn't recognize, but whose presence made Marcus's face go white as paper. You see, I've been wondering where Marcus found the money for this beautiful party. The flowers alone must have cost thousands, the band, the venue, the open bar for 200 people. It's quite an investment for a junior partner at a law firm, Mom, Sarah's voice carried from her table, sharp with warning. But I wasn't finished, not by a long shot, especially when I know that junior partners at Hendricks, Walsh and Associates make around $90,000 a year before taxes. Not exactly poverty, but hardly enough to fund this kind of lifestyle. The house in the hills, the luxury cars, the designer clothes. Marcus had stood up now, his face a mask of barely controlled panic. Edith, perhaps we should discuss this privately. Oh. I don't think privacy is necessary, I said pleasantly. After all, you felt comfortable discussing my financial situation publicly, mocking my coupons and my car and my house. So let's talk about money openly, shall we? I reached into my purse and pulled out a folder, one that looked very similar to the investment documents Marcus had shown me months earlier. This is a cashier's check, I announced to the room. For $50,000, Marcus convinced me it was an investment opportunity. He said I could trust him because we're family. The silence in the room was deafening, 200 people hanging on every word. The interesting thing about cashier's checks, I continued, is that they're traceable, every deposit. Every withdrawal, every transfer can be tracked. Would you like to know where my $50,000 went, Marcus? He was shaking now, actually shaking. Sarah was staring at him in horror. Pieces of a puzzle finally clicking into place. It didn't go into any investment account. It went directly into your personal checking account, and from there, it funded your lifestyle, this party, your wife's jewelry, your car payments. You stole from me, and then you had the audacity to mock me for being poor. The explosion that followed was everything I could have hoped for. Patricia Hendricks immediately approached our table, her face grim. Several other guests began backing away, as if financial fraud might be contagious, but the real drama was unfolding between Sarah and Marcus. Is this true? She demanded, her voice barely a whisper. Did you take money from my mother? Marcus tried to bluster, to spin another story, but the jig was up. Sarah, honey, it's not what it sounds like. $50,000, Marcus. Where did you get the authority to steal from my mother? That's when James Morrison stepped forward, flanked by his companions, whom I now realized were FBI agents, Marcus Holloway. One of them said, producing a badge, "You're under arrest for wire fraud, money laundering, and operating a Ponzi scheme." The room erupted in chaos. Guests scattered like startled birds. Cell phones appeared, capturing every moment of Marcus's humiliation. Sarah collapsed into a chair, sobbing as her picture-perfect world crumbled around her. But I wasn't finished yet, as the FBI agents led Marcus away in handcuffs. I stood at the microphone one final time. For those of you wondering, I said to the remaining guests, Marcus was correct about one thing in his toast. Some people in this family do live with dignity and class, just not the people he thought. I paused, letting that sink in. By the way, the $50,000 Marcus stole from me? That wasn't my life savings. That wasn't even my monthly interest income. You see, my late husband wasn't just any insurance salesman. He founded Carmichael Security Insurance, which I sold to State Farm in 1995 for $12 million. The gasps were audible. Sarah's head snapped up, staring at me in shock. I've been living modestly by choice, not necessity. I clip coupons because I believe in being responsible with money. I drive a Honda because it's reliable. I shop at Walmart because they treat their employees well, and I don't need to pay extra for designer labels to feel good about myself. I looked directly at Sarah. My heart breaking for her, but knowing this lesson was necessary. True wealth isn't about impressing others with what you can afford. It's about having the security to be generous, the wisdom to live within your means, and the integrity to never steal from the people who trust you. That was 6 months ago. Marcus pleaded guilty to multiple federal charges and was sentenced to 4 years in federal prison. The FBI investigation revealed he'd been running his investment scheme for over 2 years, stealing from at least 8 other victims besides me. Sarah filed for divorce immediately. The house, the cars, all the symbols of their supposedly successful life, everything was seized by the federal government as proceeds of crime. My daughter moved back to Southeast Portland, into a small apartment not far from my outdated ranch house. She's working double shifts again, trying to rebuild her life and pay off the debts Marcus left behind. We have coffee every Tuesday now, at a little diner where they don't charge $5 for a latte and the waitresses call you. Run. Sarah's lost the artificial polish Marcus insisted on, but she's found something more valuable herself. I'm so sorry, Mom, she told me last week, tears streaming down her face. I let him change me into someone I didn't even recognize. I was so caught up in trying to fit into his world that I forgot who I really was. I reached across the Formica table and took her hand. We all make mistakes, sweetheart. The important thing is learning from them. How did you know? She asked. How did you know he was stealing from you? I smiled, remembering the chess lessons her father and I used to give her when she was young. I didn't give him my money, honey. I gave him exactly enough rope to hang himself with. That check was a faker prop in a performance designed to expose him for what he really was. Sarah stared at me in amazement. I mean I've been rich for 30 years, and the only person who never knew it was you. Because I wanted you to grow up understanding the value of money, not taking it for granted, which brings me to you, watching this story unfold. Maybe you're dealing with your own Marcus, someone who mistakes cruelty for sophistication, who confuses spending money with having class. Maybe you're struggling with family members who've forgotten where they came from or who they really are underneath all the pretense. Here's what I've learned in my 79 years. True dignity comes from how you treat people, especially those you perceive as having less than you. Real class is about lifting others up, not tearing them down, and genuine wealth. It's measured not by what you can buy, but by what you choose to give away. Marcus thought he could steal from me because he assumed I was powerless. He mocked me because he believed being poor made me somehow less worthy of respect. He was wrong on every count. The most satisfying part of this whole experience, it wasn't seeing him in handcuffs or watching his fake empire crumble. It was getting my daughter back, the real Sarah, not the hollow imitation Marcus had tried to create. Money can be replaced. Dignity, once lost, is much harder to recover. But with patience, love, and sometimes a well-orchestrated lesson in humility, even the deepest betrayals can become opportunities for redemption. Have you ever faced this kind of betrayal? Share your story in the comments. We'll feature it in a future video. And remember, sometimes the best revenge isn't getting even, it's proving that you were never really the victim in the first place.